Hello, listeners, and welcome to the latest episode of the AdQuick Madvertising podcast, a podcast that explores the intersection of content, creativity, technology, all of the things that you care about. Today, we have a special guest. We have Jeremiah. He is the web strategist, one of the OG Silicon Valley bloggers and tech influencers. He is now a venture capitalist doing some really interesting things. He really doesn't need an introduction. If you are part of the tech or the marketing industry, you read his thoughts on his web strategy blog. You've seen him talk at events. You've seen him on the news. We're very lucky to have him on the show today. Jeremiah, welcome to the podcast.
Adam, it's great to be with you. I've known you for quite a few years. So here we get to chat yet again.
Yeah, and so the genesis of today's episode is you had a great LinkedIn post where you observed accurately that there was just an influx of AI billboards in Silicon Valley. and so I think this is emblematic of every tech cycle that you see the out-of-home ads going down the 101 in Bay Area are sort of the bellwether of the current thing of Silicon Valley. So yeah.
This time I'd say there's way more billboards around a particular tech trend than I usually see. And I've been here in Silicon Valley since .com. Yeah, that's old. But this is like almost 75% of the signs are about AI right now.
Yeah, and so I guess that leads into the first thing I wanted to talk about is you've been here a while. You've seen several cycles play out. What are some of the things you're seeing that I guess are similar to previous cycles and maybe some things that are different? Whatever you want to take this question.
It's different. The whole industry is just focused on this one topic. Like before, it wasn't this concentrated as a focus in Silicon Valley, and it's just overwhelming, actually, like how much energy there is. So just for some context, there are 200 in-person AI events in the San Francisco Bay Area per month. That's several per day. I'm not done yet. There's usually 8 hackathons per month in San Francisco. That's 2 per weekend, each with 300 to 400 developers competing with another hackathon. That's insane. We haven't seen that level of energy before. There's 40,000 AI projects according to the directory. There's an AI for that.com, of course. What other URL would there be? 40,000. And when I started tracking that 2 years ago, there's only 3,000. So we've had a 10x in just over 2 years in the number of startups because the cost is so low. Now, going back to .com, and I think you arrived here to the Valley right around .com and Web 2 era, I think, right? And big companies then, they would often, quote, brag about how many employees they had, right? This is how big we are. Yeah, of course, you talk about revenue and users, but employees was one metric, like, are you scaling? And then the next era came, the sharing economy, the collaborative economy, the Ubers, the Airbnbs, where they would brag about how many independent contractors they had working for them. Drivers, Airbnb hosts. They're not employees, so you brag about your ICs. Or if you were in the crowdfunding era or you were crowdsourcing, you'd brag about how many users, what was your contingent workforce. Adam, today it's different in the AI movement. You don't brag about how many employees you have or contractors. You brag about how many AI agents you have working per employee. And some of the companies that I see that are growing really fast, like they're doubling every quarter, they have on average around 10 AI agents per human worker. And so they're growing. So there's a leaderboard, and I want to get your actions after I share this. So there's a leaderboard called the AI Native Leaderboard, and I'm tracking this, and I've invested in companies that are going to be on that leaderboard. They tend to have around 20 employees. They're less than 5 years old. They're around 3 years old, and they're generating significant revenue. So just to give you a comparison, the stat that we're looking at now is revenue per employee. So the average SaaS company, the revenue per employee is around 200K. And those are like 20-year-old companies, like the leaders in that space are about $1 million revenue per employee. Like Box, Amazon, Facebook's, Adobe's, Salesforce, right? They're about $1 million revenue per employee. On the leaderboard, the AI native leaderboards, and they have like 10 agents per one human. some of those startups are making $3 million per employee.
It's wild. It's similar numbers to like Jane Street and, you know, some of the hedge funds on Wall Street. Like, it's incredible, the earnings per head.
Yeah. Just earlier this week, you might have saw the news. Mark Benioff announced that he's slashing 45% of his customer care department. He's cutting 4,000 humans because they're going to shift to AI. So like the traditional SaaS industry is getting impacted in ways, and they're trying to adopt, and the startups and then big Fortune 500s and then marketers are trying to figure out like what role do they play. So it is a very dynamic period. I have not seen it like this before at this level of disruption and innovation.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And so on the heels of that, I saw the other day that OpenAI of all companies was hiring a content strategist. And I think
really?
what that says to me though is that these companies do value really good marketing talent. I think and we can talk about talent in a bit. Let's just talk about this next. You know, if I am, you know, I think this applies to junior and even senior marketers seeing this wave of automation and AI. What are you telling people who are maybe a little anxious or afraid their company might be having layoffs? You know, since we're in this like weird phase between AI, you know, maybe freeing up humanity to do entirely other things because we're not there yet, but also at this point where AI is starting to be realized in terms of automating a lot of things people are doing. How do you suggest people deal with that?
This is a tough one because I don't really know. Like, even me as a AI VC, like, what skills do I teach my kids? Like, I'm not really clear because it's changing so fast. Just 2 years ago, everybody said whoever has the chips is going to win. Now that's not. People don't say that now because that's become commoditized, right? Whoever has the foundation models a year ago, that they're going to win. People don't say that now. It's like AI agents. So I think the best thing is to learn how to learn really fast. And using AI agents is the current skill needed. So every person, including an individual contributor in marketing, should be using AI and AI agents to complete multiple tasks as if they were a team. So that's where you need to have your skill set right now. It is incredible the speed on which I see people doing this. Like, one of the startups I backed, Composio, they're like 20 people. Like, I sent over some data of like people that are going to be coming to this event, and they use their AI agent to parse through it. That typically a marketing analyst would take 2 to 3 days to do that. They did it in like 20 minutes, and they had all the parameters preset, and they trained it off what is their company goals, and it went through all the data and already identified the targets. Like, that's typically what inside sales or BD, BDR, or marketing ops would do. And now that's being done in seconds. So a lot of the repetitive tasks are being replicated by AI. It doesn't mean they're perfect. So you should still have human oversight called human in the loop. But the junior workers, they need to quickly learn how to become a manager of AI agents very fast. Now, I'm not surprised that OpenAI is hiring a content person, Adam, because just because you can spit out and regurgitate content, it doesn't mean it's good content or at the right time, right? Like, it doesn't mean it's resonating. All right. So I think that makes sense. And besides, they have nearly limitless resources. They can afford to hire the best humans to lead this.
They do. And I think what we'll see in the future is a longing for things and creative work and content and ideas where it's clear that a human touched it. And what I mean by that is it has a distinct brand. Like, I read something and I know it's your voice, Jeremiah. And even if you use AI to help, I know at the end of the day, like, even without looking at your name, I know that was the thought from Jeremiah.
Yeah,
right?
I write it and then I have it grammar check in my voice.
Yeah.
Just spell it. Yeah. So yes, and so we'll see that authentic brand. I want to add on to that. So I do think there are some skill sets for marketers. Is these a couple of them is like these in-person experiences. Also, community and ecosystem is going to become very strategic, like helping people come together because they want to be connected in the age of AI, and those skills are very important. So, and also continued public speaking skills of marketers, being out in front of the market, and when humans are together physically, being able to lead the conversation and being skilled at that Those are often roles at a corp com, not always the traditional marketing role, but I can see product marketers stepping into that. I think that becomes very important.
Totally. And, you know, it's interesting because of all the money people spend on online ads, your LinkedIn post was noticing the billboards on the 101, which a lot of people notice. And
Yes.
it's interesting because, you know, we're obviously a startup that sells out-of-home ads, one of many companies that does that. And what this industry is seeing, the industry as a whole has seen growth every year after the pandemic by significant percent. And it's because these are the last ads that people can't skip. And, you know, people on their phone are increasingly paying for subscription service. They're paying for YouTube Premium. They're watching Netflix. They're opting out of ads. And so it's actually one of the last ways you can connect with people without ad blockers. And it's an in-person thing. It's a real thing. So it's
100%.
interesting. Yeah.
Yes. So billboard ads are noticed, assuming you're looking at the window. If you're driving or you got your heads down because somebody's driving you, then it's not as effective. But the ads are very ironic or in your face, or they, you know, little quips. You know, they try to be sassy to get attention. So we see that for sure. The other thing is there's a shift now towards in large language model ads or perplexity ads are growing. Emerging advertising opportunity. So we're seeing that, and marketers are trying to like unwind. How did their brand show up in a foundation model? What, like, rewind, like what did it consume and digest? What media sources or Wikipedia or Reddit threads or YouTube videos? And so I can go back and influence those in order to show up in the large language model results. And Perplexity announced that they'll have a new way for sponsored sentences and sponsored answers to emerge in their platform, which is, you know, wild.
Yeah, there's a cottage industry of, I guess called GEO, generative engine optimization, I guess it's called.
Yes, exactly.
Where
yes.
There's a startup that we use to basically do something similar to search, where you can understand your brand and competitors in popular AI tools, you know, what queries you're being shown in, what the context is around it, where typically that content is being pulled from. And that certainly informs a marketer's task list of, oh, you know, I need to get included in this story, or I need to participate more on Reddit. And these tools will give you like a pretty good list of things that you should go off and do to market a company. So it is interesting that, you know, the Jevons paradox of we create a new thing, but it actually creates a whole new set of work that we have to now go and do as a marketer, right?
Yeah, I can speak to a few of these trends too. Pete Blackshaw started BrandBreak.ai, which tries to do that large language model engine optimization. So you figure out what are the sources for that. And I've seen startups that are trying to put ads into AI apps. One is called AdsIn. I'm going to have them. Both of those companies will be demo companies at my event, Llama Lounge. So like I'm tracking this space and looking for investment opportunities in AI advertising.
Yeah, and I think companies are very interested at this point. The ads products are a little nascent, but right now companies are really interested in being the organic recommendation. And I don't see that stopping, because being the organic result in Google search was so valuable in the past, and everyone kind of knows that, right? So I think, you know, the job of an SEO just got much, much more difficult, as if it wasn't already hard.
That's what I'm hearing for sure. So it means that owned media content marketing also becomes important, because it feeds all of those engines, the LLMs, right? So you have to do all of those things.
Yeah. So Jeremiah, one thing that I've enjoyed is the recent resurgence in blogging. You have a Beehive that's really great. A Beehive is a newsletter, of course. We've talked to the founders on this show before, and
cool.
Like, I have a Substack I've been writing on since the pandemic.
Long time.
And the thing is, here's an interesting thing. Everyone's obsessed with social media, but actually I've had the highest number of subscribers and opens of my content that I've ever had, even in a world where social media is throttling our links. So I think like what all of these new newsletter platforms have done that the previous blog platforms didn't, is they connected blogging with distribution. And so now you have a direct line to people via email. And I think people are thirsty for content outside of algorithmic streams from like really trusted voices like yourself, Jeremiah. And so I'm curious, how have you noticed a resurgence in blogging? Is this something that you're paying attention to?
My actual blog, my real blog, my WordPress blog, like I duplicate content there. The traffic's nothing. It's so gone. The energy I get is absolutely on newsletters, and my open rate is like 60%. Click throughs like 1 to 2%. If I'm pushing a link, I'm not usually pushing anything. I'm just informing. Yeah, it seems to perform well. LinkedIn is performing well if you're not putting URLs in. So you embed as an article your content into their native platform. That seems to be working well. For some people, X will work well. It doesn't work for me. But yeah, there's really not a lot of places in business to publish. And so during the pandemic, I did launch my newsletter, and that was really important to have direct ownership of your relationships with those people. But you know what, Adam? A lot of people, they don't read the newsletters. It just goes into that folder or that inbox, and it's read or it's auto read or it's not. But over time, it could become searchable. So I don't really think like 66% of the opens, those people are actually reading it. They might scan the head. I'd say 10% are scanning the headline, and maybe 5% actually read the content. So if I ask a question, I get several responses back. And so sometimes that's useful, and it triggers other discussions. But I think you need to blanket, right? You need to be in all places. And I publish across like one idea. I push it in multiple places, including like in-person events as well. So you have to have you have to be strategic about it. It can't be one platform or channel ever.
Yeah, you've always done a very good job as a marketer. I mean, not just as a thought leader, but as a marketer. I think like throughout the years, you're one of the people I've consistently read your thoughts.
Content marketer. I'm a content marketer. I'm a community marketer, but I am not skilled at advertising or direct marketing or performance marketing. I just don't even have those skills.
So I've kind of an interesting question for you. We have some friends in Silicon Valley, like Brian Solis, who have kind of made this like this outside the box career track for themselves. And so I kind of did something like that at Google, where I was in an advocacy role, which is similar. And you know a bunch of people like this. And do you think it's smart for people to have these types of roles? Or do you think it's kind of a ladder to nowhere, where if the company doesn't value it, they're never going to want to have someone like yourself? Because you're pretty close to people who have made a career.
Yeah. Love Brian. We were business partners. I just spoke at his offsite. He runs the innovation group at ServiceNow. By the way, he moved to SoCal, but he's up in Silicon Valley frequently. And it was good to see him last month and meet all the innovation execs and talk about AI. So that is not a good career track, because there's only like one person that can do that job in only a few companies. So the quantity of roles is extremely few. I don't recommend that career track. It's just too hard. And also measuring success is very challenging with that type of role. So you do have to touch revenues in some way. Brian is doing very well, and he's thriving. I told him that, I hugged him goodbye. Congrats, because he's leading a team that's actually executing and helping clients. So that's working for him. But he's a very unique person, and there's very few roles like that. I just don't think that's a great career path. I'll be very honest, Adam. You're one of the few people that are like my gen that is doing well in marketing. A majority of my friends that are in my generation, like we've been in tech for 20 years, they're struggling. And I saw a stat recently. I know you're not even close to 50 years old, but there was a stat on LinkedIn, I don't know the source, that if you get laid off at age 50, there's a 20% chance you'll never work again. Right. So the pickings are very slim as you get older. And I see a lot of marketers really struggling in their careers right now. So I'm holding my hands up. If you can't see me, it's the shape of a triangle. And as you become older in the marketing track, at the top, there's very few roles. There's CMO, SVP, VP, and then a bunch of director roles. And you can hire lots of talented younger people at lower costs that work longer hours to fill that middle level, and you need fewer lower roles because AI is doing it. So there's just a small little triangle at the top for people that are aging into their career. There's just not a lot of roles. And so you need to be very strategic as a marketer how you're going to play this. And I see a lot of very smart, hardworking, talented people that were innovators in Web 2 that are not doing well now. So marketers need to get ready.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that, you know, I think historically, there has been, I feel in the marketing sector, when I was coming up in the sector, there was a lot of, you know, we were looking up to people like David Ogilvy and Seth Godin and whatnot. Yeah. And I feel like the culture has kind of flipped, and there's a lot more youth worship than there is, perhaps because TikTok and Instagram and these channels are so youth culture dominated. And it's interesting because I don't necessarily think you have to be young to understand cultural currents and follow trends and be able to put together a great campaign, and or even know how to bring young people together and lead them on a team. So it is unfortunate when you see, like, you know, some of our peers who might be slightly older being, you know, told no for roles, or being, you know, aged out of the career, because I think they have a lot to value companies. I don't think like ageism is a good approach for marketing. There's a lot you learn with tenure in this field.
Definitely agree, 1000%.
So, Jay, let's talk a little bit about what's next for AI. You've talked about the agentic era. Do you want to share like what that means, and
of course,
sort of the broader implications for AI on how we think, work, and live in the next, you know, 5-10 years?
Should I focus it around marketers too?
Yeah, however's most interesting.
Let's start with what is an AI agent. And so for those that don't know me, I have a background in industry. I was an industry analyst. So I was at Forrester. And then I was a co-founder at Altimeter Group, industry analyst firm, boutique in Silicon Valley. So research and forecasting is actually my core background. And what I did is I interviewed the actual AI agent founders, the CEOs, to build this definition. An AI agent is software that can sense the world around it, or applications or data, and can determine a course of action and then actually execute those actions. By the way, large language models don't do that. And then it can improve over time. The more advanced AI agents recruit other AI agents and orchestrate them, right? They're also called swarms, agent swarms, or crews. So that's what an AI agent is. It actually, think of it as your limbs of your body that actually get tasks done, but it is calling, is determining what tasks to do. It's calling information from a large language model, and often from a proprietary data source. And that process is called RAG, retrieval augmented generation, right? Accessing, you know, your private CRM, for example. So an AI agent, let's make it applicable to marketers, could be doing outreach to customers in multiple channels, digital channels, and having conversations and pulling information from a CRM about the preferences of that user at the right time, in the right channel, and the right voice. Doesn't mean it's doing it perfect, right? But this is what marketers are experimenting with AI agents. The big person to push that has been Mark Benioff with Agent Force last year. They had a marketing research type of junior marketing AI agent, a sales and a BDR and a customer care one, to complete those tasks on behalf of brands. And we'll see what happens at Dreamforce, which is this fall. Like, let's actually look at the real case studies to see what was actually adopted. So that's what an AI agent is. Now, that's the definition. And we've done 3, maybe 4 investments in the AI agent space: Crew, Enterprise, Composio, a developer tool, and then Skyfire, which is the financial stack for AI agents to complete financial transactions. And I share this because marketers, you need to prepare for a significantly different world. So here's our thesis. And by the way, I'm at Blitzscaling Ventures. I'm one of the general partners, and I'm leading the AI investments. Blitzscaling is based off the famous book by Reid Hoffman, you know, LinkedIn creator, PayPal Mafia, and Chris Ye, my friend for 20 years. and I was invited to come on board. And Reed is an LP and advisor. He's not full-time. And so I'm finding startups that meet the blitzscaling thesis. Okay, so here's the thesis that we see with AI agents as it pertains to marketers and advertising. So right now, Adam, you and I as humans are often completing most of the tasks on the internet. We're opening our stupid inbox, we're reading those tweets, we're replying on an email, we're filling out our expense report. We're physically typing with our hands or voice and doing that work. But in the future, the AI agent that belongs to you, we can call that a meta agent, right? Or your primary agent, will be completing those tasks for you. It'll go out to the internet, collect that information. It might get your receipts from one place and fill out your expense report. It might sort your inbox and do level 1 replies. It might organize your data for your monthly reports to the CEO. Like, it's going to do those tasks for you. Now, this is a big change because it means the information is coming to you, Adam. You don't go to those apps. You don't go to those websites. So there's a question, and I want to hear your answer after I get to the second part of the thesis, is like, how many apps do you need, right? And so the second part of the thesis is the content will come back to you and reassemble in the way that you want, Adam. You want text, video, or audio? You choose. Do you want it morning, noon, or night? You choose. Do you want a lot of information, a little of information? You choose. So it means that the content layer and the design presentation layer are decoupling and reassembling in the way that you want because of AI agents. And that's starting to happen. I see this with apps. So there's a lot of impacts to marketers and advertisers from this. So the question I have to you, Adam, and I don't have a perfect answer, but is, in that world, how many apps do you actually need? How many websites do you actually need?
Yeah, it's actually really exciting because you can imagine just having this really great customized dashboard for your work life, your personal life, your gym life, and basically have all of the right inputs come to you. And maybe what this ultimately means, and this is exciting, is it basically frees humans up for the more fun parts of work and life and family and relationships. And ultimately, like the blue sky scenario is, we also have something similar happening in robotics. No one has to do manual labor work they don't in the future. And like, you can imagine a future economy where it's like total world of abundance. We have to roll UBI or something because there's just not that many things left for humans to do. And we're kind of not prepared for that world yet, like politically or economically. Like, no one knows how to handle it or manage it, but it is exciting, right? There's revolutions in the past, the agricultural revolution, industrial revolution, and we get through them. And ultimately, like, white pill about this is humans live better after all of these things. The black pill about this is always, the revolution and the change is hard. And, there ends up being, periods of strain and stress. But I'm ultimately bullish humans. I'm not. Have you heard of the AI doomers who think like the robots are going to take over?
And I listen to them, and it's important. I do listen to them because, I'm shifting resources in the market. I do listen to them. I don't agree with them most of the time, but I think they play an important role to ensure some safety.
Yeah, I think the doomers have a point when it comes to, maybe not having a system where people are like locked out of healthcare access. That's pretty dystopian. But then others think like the AI is going to get control and want to like nuke all humans or whatever. And I'm like, I don't really buy it. I don't think we're going to give them access to those systems in such a way that would cause problems. Like humans aren't that dumb. I think we have like good security layer around things that matter. People online have this view in their head, everyone's really incompetent, and that's not true. So do you have a PDoom number, Jeremiah?
No. So we're in the camp that AI can help humanity. In fact, we've invested in Manas AI, which is using AI to figure out how to develop cancer-defeating drugs, and using all of the large language model skills to really go fix that. And that hasn't been solved. And that's being run by Dr. Sid Mukherjee, who wrote the book on cancer. And Reid Hoffman himself is a co-founder. So we're really proud to back that. AI can help. And we also invested in LearnTube, which is in the education space, in AI to help new skills for people around the world that don't have access to colleges. And there's another education company we're about to back in the AI space as well that will help my kids, or anybody's kids with education. So we're on the side that this can help, but just like humans discovered fire and harnessed the atom, it has been used for growth and improvement of the world, and also for harm. It's been
Yeah.
used for both.
Yeah.
And AI is a similar technology. And in all three cases, fire, harnessing the atom, or AI, it reflects upon the human that's wielding it.
Totally. I think it's interesting how there's a parallel here with splitting the atom and nuclear power, that it's such an incredible innovation. We were like bullish nuclear everything for a while, and then like some small setbacks, 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl set everyone back. But it turns out if you
And World War II.
if you look into those things, though, Chernobyl was just managed really poorly, and 3 Mile Island was actually fine. And now we're realizing, oh, nuclear is this abundant power source. It is really safe, and
You are very pro nuclear.
I am pro nuclear. Nuclear and solar. There's no carbon emissions. We're stupid not to run more of them. So I think that there could be like something similar that happens with AI, but I don't think at like the nuclear like disaster level. Like maybe it's a lot of people lose their jobs before government's like, oh crap, we have to do something about this. There has to be UBI. Like there'll be something where the technology's ahead of policy, and I think that's what will create an issue.
Going back to your other point, though, about our society is not ready for this, but we will have to prepare for resource reallocation, and that will have to happen at the federal level. And so I don't think there's any government that's really ready for that. Maybe the Nordics are ready for that. But that is a conversation to be had in the next few years. That is definitely a little bit beyond me.
Yeah. In terms of exciting things with AI that I really like, one of them that's so cool for me, and I see what's going to happen with this already, is, okay, say you're like a young filmmaker. In the past, you couldn't get, unless you had money, you couldn't film your own B-roll or get really good B-roll for the indie film you're going to make. And like right now, today, with the existing tools we already have right now, like people are going out and they can get really cool B-roll for their film projects. They can generate it themselves. It's interesting. It's unique. It works. Like forget like the short 2-minute films that I'm saying. I mean like a filmmaker can actually get something specific for like a piece that they're making. And I think we're going to start to see a renaissance in film, in music, I mean, there's already people making music with software tools already, but it's just going to get cooler. And I think the young people experimenting with these tools, like I see the examples of the work online, and there's a ton of slop, but there's also some really cool examples of things people are doing. So I think like these tools in the hands of creative people who understand how to tell a story, it will get really interesting. Not just to make money online bros using it to get clicks, but I mean like actual creatives will do really fun stuff with these tools.
It's true. Like you can see how, so I was at the Katy Perry concert, and they're already using AI to create some of the videos they were showing between sets. And like Will Smith just put out a video and people called him out, but he was using AI, which is efficient. So like mainstream is already starting to adopt it now. So, but to your point that everyday people can use that to improve it, including even content marketers now can put out a lot more content on different mediums. If they didn't have capabilities to do video, now they can, right? They need to do a voiceover with one of their execs in a different language that the executive doesn't speak. They can do that now. So there's definitely a lot of improvements. I've definitely seen that as well.
Yeah, I saw an SMB, like a small business taqueria, had like the most insane video ad that like went really hard. It looked like a big company made it. And someone's like, that was AI. And I'm like, yeah, it's amazing. It's like the idea of giving a small business or an individual the same tools that used to be for a large studio is just like objectively cool. Like forget any of the other things. It's like you can give people the same power that previously like a Fortune 500 company had. And I think that's fun.
Wow.
Yeah. So Jeremiah, this has been really great to catch up with you today. Where can people go online to connect with you, to learn more, and to stay on top of the latest in AI?
Probably LinkedIn right now. And my handle is, well, there's no Jeremiah Owyang other than me. My parents gifted me with a very unique SEO friendly name. So that's probably the best way to find my insights. And I do publish on LinkedIn at least daily. So there's like fresh content there. And from once in a while, I'll talk about my newsletter as well.
Awesome. Well, Jeremiah, thank you for joining us today. And we will see everyone next week for another episode.